Good evening and welcome to Blueprint Explosive Exclusives. There's big breaking updates coming in at the moment. Big action by Modi government on the CBSE related issues. The CBSE Chairman and Secretary have been transferred. An inquiry committee has been constituted to probe the procurement of on-screen marking services by the CBSE. So this is a massive development taking place. In fact, even as the parliamentary panel was reviewing this entire matter, now the CBSE Chairman and Secretary have been transferred by the central government. Pragya is joining us live. Pragya, this is perhaps the biggest admission of the huge amount of lapses that students have had to face in their Class 12 board exams this year around with the implementation of the new on-screen marking system.
Absolutely, Madhav, when it took a student to expose this whole system, and in fact he was present and he gave a presentation in front of the parliamentary panel today as well. But as you rightly said, Prime Minister Modi himself was supervising the whole education system reforms and also about these issues in CBSE and NEET as well. It was also one of the top priorities of Prime Minister's office, and therefore a big action by the Prime Minister's office itself. The CBSE Chairman and Secretary have been transferred, and there is an inquiry that has been constituted on this OSM system and how it is procured. It is one of the biggest action ever taken by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and in fact the office also knows the sensitivity of the issue because many of the students are very impacted, and not just the students, the families are impacted by this whole arrangement. And biggest admission, you're absolutely right, biggest admission, but Prime Minister has decided that there should be an inquiry, and it took one student to expose the whole system, Madhav.
Absolutely. It took one student to expose the whole system. In fact, Kritika has been reporting consistently on this because, Kritika, it's not just one lapse. Now, there are dilutions in the tender conditions from the resolution from 300 to 200, and those are issues that even the opposition was raising, but also the manner in which the penalties were sought to be reduced, the manner in which the committee, or the entire contract itself was given to a company which is already under a cloud in its previous avatar as Globe Arena Technologies. All of these are raising serious questions. Was the future of students somewhere sought to be played around with in an irresponsible manner by those who are in positions of power in the CBSE?
Well, absolutely. The removal of the blacklisting clause, this remains to be, in fact, the biggest step that was taken as far as diluting the terms and conditions of the contract is concerned. Till, in fact, May, these very conditions were, in fact, levied on the bidders. But as far as the August and the September corrigendum is, in fact, concerned, the blacklisting clause were absolutely removed. There is also a cap on the penalty that can be put in. And, in fact, just for the CBSE to roll out the on-screen marking system on the whole, on in fact all students that were appearing in all subjects, is also something that went against the wishes of the teachers, of the evaluators themselves. They had also pointed out that it should be rolled out even in just pilot programs on in fact, technical subjects of just physical education and fine arts. This is how the rollout should have happened. There are issues with the scanners, the quality of the scanners as well, which has again put a lot of anxiety around children's future as well. Even as of today, the JEE counselling has begun, but students are yet to, in fact, access the revaluation.
There's more breaking. Kritika, you're getting us another very important update. A panel has been formed to look into this entire on-screen marking system, and the Cabinet Secretariat has constituted a one-member committee to examine the procurement of services related to the OSM project. This panel will be headed by Radha Chauhan, chairperson of the Capacity Building Commission, and has been asked to submit his report within 1 month. The committee has also been empowered to seek assistance from other departments as it conducts its inquiry into the matter. Very important development there coming in, Kritika, that it is now a Cabinet Secretariat formed committee, a committee that will be headed by the chairperson of the Capacity Building Commission, who's now going to be looking into this entire matter and will be submitting the report within a month.
Well, absolutely, Madhav. Late last night as well, we had broken the information that the ministry is looking to, in fact, make head rolls in the CBSE. Now, remember, officials at various levels were already under, in fact, the scrutiny of the ministry. The entire process of tender, as far as that is concerned, is also a big question mark currently, whether or not Govt was favoured, or even if it wasn't favoured, the watering down and the dilution of the clauses in the contract is also again a big question mark as far as the Central Board of Secondary Education is also concerned. More than that, what the Ministry of Education has not been in fact convinced with are the answers that were given on part of the on-screen marking system as well. Again, to remind our viewers, this system was experimented first in 2014, and now finally, if it is being rolled out in 2026, there were expectations that will be done in a manner in which both the students, the evaluators, as well as the parents, all stakeholders will in fact be satisfied. But instead of that, what we are hearing is that principals from the get-go have been in fact speaking about how they've been raising concerns. There was also a chapter wherein we also saw attempts to cover up on part of the CBSE, wherein sources have, highly placed sources have confirmed to us that regional officers of the board had reached out to principals in order to induce them to make videos talking positively about the on-screen marking system, which again drew a lot of flag to the Ministry of Education. So this is a big
All
step.
right. Those are some of the serious concerns, as you rightly mentioned there, Kritika. But Kritika, last week, while speaking before the Supreme Court, while representing the central government to the Supreme Court, it's the Solicitor General, no less, who submitted that the Prime Minister himself is seized of this matter, and that at the highest levels there's a lot of concern being expressed at the manner in which things are in fact being played out. Now, that was in the context of another controversy that we've seen being played out, and that was in the context of NEET. But it is a fact that the government has been very concerned about issues related to students, given the vast number of stories that have been coming out about the struggle they are having to go through, whether it's NEET, whether it's Class 12 board. Pragya.
Absolutely, Madhav. And in fact, if you remember, Prime Minister, a leader who does Pariksha Pe Charcha and also tells students to be, remain stress-free during the examination, such a traumatic experience of students is unacceptable. And therefore, this decision by Prime Minister's office, and this is why Cabinet Secretariat has, issued this notice of one-member committee as well. Prime Minister himself looks like that he himself has taken this situation in his hand. And in fact, the steps that should have been taken by Education Ministry earlier, it looks like that the Prime Minister himself is dealing with all the situation. The manner in which the students, face this harassment, this trauma that the family also faced, it has also reached the Prime Minister's ears, and he also feels for the student, and therefore the action that has been taken on the CBSE Chairman and Secretary by transferring them. And, what we are given to understand from the sources is that there is going to be an action. An inquiry has been initiated in this particular manner, and Prime Minister is very upset in the way the system has worked in Education Ministry, and therefore Prime Minister himself is in seize of the matter, and he is going to take action. And there is a larger message that his office is also sending out, that the Prime Minister still stands with students. He is the one who is looking into it, despite being the Prime Minister himself.
Right. Thanks so much for joining us with those updates there, Pragya, as well as Kritika. We'll keep coming back to you for more updates. But for the moment, let's quickly take this across to our panelists. Joining us with us is Shekhar Iyer, senior journalist. Dr. Pula Rao, political analyst, is also joining us. I'd like to thank both of you for speaking to us on this breaking development that's just coming in at the moment. Dr. Pula Rao, what would you say about this? Better late than never. The very fact that finally accountability has been fixed, because even the Supreme Court was asking who's going to be held accountable.
You see, it's very sad. These are all after the action reactions. They should have anticipated this. When, they could not conduct, I'm sorry to say this, accountability means somebody should be accountable, not the chairman CBSE alone. There's a whole Department of Education. Believe me, it is the largest ministry, HRD. There's so much scrutiny to be done. They failed. I don't think it helps, and the students will be satisfied that such exams, and NEET is another issue also, the government is not able to conduct them. Why would you? There must be total reform. It's unfortunate that the Prime Minister is now overseeing CBSE exams. Where, I'm sorry to say this, where are his ministers? Where is the secretary? What were they doing all these years? Don't they know this is a very sensitive point? When a paper leaks, Maybe in some places a minister would resign, governments get shaken. The whole credibility of government has been affected. I think it should go beyond the CBSE chairman. Unless there is accountability, the word accountability means somebody has to pay, many people have to pay.
Okay.
And this is not being done. You can imagine what the students are thinking. 4 million, I believe, 4.5 million were affected in class 10 and class 12. And in addition to that, there is total loss of credibility. What if something fails now? This is at the Prime Minister's doorstep.
Yeah.
And, it's a very serious and critical thing he has taken on himself. And it should not be done. He should entrust his ministers. The ministers are not capable.
Let me take that question across to Shekhar Iyer, JVC Shriram poll strategist, also joining us. Shekhar Iyer, at somewhere or the other, does Mr. Pulla Rao, Dr. Pulla Rao, have a point where he says, why should the Prime Minister and the Prime Minister's office have to intervene in such an issue? Could this action not have been taken at the level of the Education Minister and his department is perhaps the question that is coming out from Dr. Pulla Rao?
Well, nobody can disagree with the view expressed by Pulla Rao Ji, because this is a very serious thing and it has hurt so many children and demoralized them. And also the fact that when you are talking of technology in education, in technology in evaluation, it is very important there is a foolproof method. Of course, now that this has happened and now the action is being taken, and like where those some of the kids even brought out the fact that there was tinkering with the tender system as to who, that itself was quite shocking. And this is snowballing into a political controversy also. So therefore, I think when the message was sent that the Prime Minister office is monitoring, when the court was informed, was basically to convey that the government has taken a very, very serious view and things will be put in order. And whatever it takes, if the heads will have to roll, they will roll. But what we are going to see is this is going to be the last time that such a big thing is going to happen, such a big collapse. Near collapse of a system. So I think what we are seeing now is something that is expected to restore confidence in the examination system, the evaluation system of the CBSE.
Absolutely, because the re-evaluation process has just begun. Yesterday, we were reporting on the fact that the website was not ready. Today, we are told that the website is up and running, and that itself is a process that is going to take some time. But JVC Shriram, at the end of the day, the question that will be from opposition and Dr. Pulla Rao reflecting that, how will the accountability be fixed? Is it enough for the CBSE chairman to go here?
Good evening, Madhav. I think, it's a blunder, accepted, and corrective measures are required now, and proactively things have to happen. And more importantly, I think the education minister must be questioned. Not questioned. I would even go to the extent of saying that probably in the next reshuffle, which is going to happen in the next, say, probably 2 to 3 weeks' time, he must be either shifted from the education ministry or dropped from the cabinet itself. Because this is the second time it's happening. We have seen something of this kind in 2024, and we have not learned lessons. And I have personally seen this Globe Arena in Hyderabad. It is a firm which was blacklisted in 2019. And in 2019, there were major issues in Telangana, and students went on strike. And the same, institution metamorphoses itself into a different organization and comes and takes all these tender. Now, this is unacceptable. Heads will have to roll, not only at the highest level of secretary, even the middle level and the lower level. And more importantly, I think PMO was forced to take up this because that showed the commitment, because the Prime Minister is in control of things. But some of the ministers are not in control. And those ministers who are not in control must be shown the exit door, because BJP and NDA have talent at their disposal. It is just that they will have to be allocated the right portfolio. And Dharmendra Pradhan Ji, for all the things, I don't want to blame him alone, because he has been entrusted with a lot of organizational work also. So that also we need to keep in mind. So as a result of which, I myself feel that things have gone out of control. Now, how quickly, how swiftly the government can repair this and ensure that a foolproof system is put in place.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you have said, but at the end of the day, just imagine you're a CBSE student sitting there, or you're a parent whose child has gone through this trauma. It doesn't matter whether a person who's working for the organization or not. All they want is for the board exams to be conducted properly and for the future to be secured, which right now there are many, many questions in people's minds.
Mother, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that I'm not giving an excuse. I'm saying that he must be shifted out of the education ministry, if not the cabinet itself. And more importantly, several heads must roll, because this is, and in India, CBSE examination is life and death for many students, for many families. Let's take it. We need to understand that there is so much of peer pressure on the families, on the students. As a result of which, this must be it's a very, very serious issue. It's not another issue which can be brushed aside, Madhav.
Right.
It is not another issue.
I completely agree, because there are so many lakhs of students' lives involved. Dr. Pullarao was to respond to you. Dr. Pullarao.
No, I am so happy that distinguished, respected co-panelists also are all of the same view. This is not a moment for politics or to score any points, It doesn't, somebody has to pay, but that itself is not enough. I have heard so many people saying, that it's a very low middle class people who are hard hit. They have to get geared up for these exams again. I wonder whether the government can compensate them. Maybe I'm suggesting an outlandish thing, but it's not so outlandish. What are the students, 4.5 million of them, again preparing, again going through all of this? What is the thing? They're watching the situation. And their idealism and all that is going out of the window. That they cannot conduct examinations. If you cannot conduct examinations, why not leave it all together out? I remember a few decades ago, I think the Cambridge exams were set in England, many, many decades ago. And they went quite well. Therefore, it is time for hard decisions. Once the Prime Minister has taken on responsibility, can you imagine if there is a blunder here? What will it do? That's why I said at the beginning that he should not take this responsibility. It is not correct. That the Prime Minister's office has to stay. My friend is disagreeing, but a minister set up the capable. By the way, P.V. Narasimha Rao was Minister of Education under Rajiv Gandhi, and he said this is the most important, the largest ministry, not defense, not external affairs, etc. That was the importance given to education.
No, Madhav, of course, there will be multiple.
Madhav,
okay, yeah, all right, GVC.
Yeah, Madhav, the Prime Minister taking up this responsibility shows the kind of seriousness this government has got. See, lapses can happen. I don't want to play politics here. I don't want to point out how many times during the UPA rule, during the Congress regime, in various states, other parties' regime, exams have failed. So this is not the time to talk about those things. But at the same time, when the Prime Minister is taking ownership and responsibility, the message goes loud and clear. And there cannot be a bigger message than this.
All right, there can't be a bigger message than this. And the point, Shekhar, at the end of the day, of course, it's an important ministry, which is why you had heard a few years ago, even the name had been changed, but whatever the terminology, it's been called Human Resource Development Ministry in the past. The point is, this is fundamental for our country's future, because if we don't have quality education, how will we ever, grow economically speaking, and as far as our social development indices are concerned? But the larger question at this point of time is that there's still a lot that remains. There are, of course, re-examinations that are to happen. There is also the larger question about whether that will increase the timelines of the admission process itself, and whether the center needs to perhaps step in and increase or delay those windows as well.
No, definitely, Madhav, the government needs to pay a lot more attention than hitherto to the functioning of the educational bodies, educational regulators, and even the functioning of the higher education universities. I mean, there is so much of politics happening, and if you're talking of Viksit Bharat, if you're talking of India of 2047, so the most important thing is nourishing those human resources. Yes, you have changed the name back to education, but that needs a lot more serious attention, and that attention has to be at the highest level. Unfortunately, we haven't had that kind of political attention from the highest levels of the government on this ministry. And consequently, we have seen one controversy or the other, something happening in some university. And I mean, this has to end, because here, this is the place where you're building the future. Because the future of nation is just not on the infrastructure. It's on this is the essential thing. So I think this could be a wake-up call. And I'm sure there are enough people, talented people, talented educationists who can put their heads together and see that when it comes to our education system, there is definitely a foolproof mechanism where any person taking the exam, feels that kind of confidence and trust. So the most important thing is to restore the trust. When I say restore the trust, not just in these regulatory bodies or the bodies which are handing out certificates, but the entire educational system. I mean, what are we? Who are we churning out? People, I mean, we keep talking about unemployment, but there are a lot of people unemployable. Why are the people who are coming out of our universities being unemployable? What is happening to learning? We keep talking of modern educational tools, modern ways of learning, and we talk of new modern ways of evaluation. But we are still back to the same rote, the elementary rote learning.
All right.
I mean, this is a wake-up call on a whole gamut of issues, I would say.
Certainly. A lot of issues on the table over here. How many of them can be resolved immediately and how many for the long term is a very important question indeed. I'd like to thank all our panelists for joining us. Dr. Pullarao, Shekhar Iyer, as well as JVC Sriram. Thank you so much for joining us with your views on this breaking story. And there's one more breaking update coming in on the show. The Karnataka cabinet expansion is set for tomorrow with several senior Congress leaders likely to take oath alongside new Chief Minister D.K. Shivakumar. Sources indicate KJ George is set for a cabinet berth, while Mansoor Ali is emerging as a front-runner for a Rajya Sabha seat. This is the latest update coming in. There's also the likelihood of Parmeshwara and other top names. Priyank Kharge is amongst the probables, is also what we are told. And that, of course, is also a very important aspect because D. Parmeshwara is not very keen to carry on with the Home Ministry. Imran, this is the latest update coming in. At least 11 names that you're bringing to us, all of them heavyweights in Karnataka politics. But G. Parmeshwara unlikely to take on the responsibility of Home Ministry is the indication.
Well, absolutely, Madhav. What is the first round of meeting? What we've seen that the negotiations which happened, which failed, and the second round of meeting happened at the AICC there in Delhi. Apart from that, there have been, we've seen that most of these ministers who have been inducted are the old timers and all are close associates of the former chief, I beg your pardon, caretaker Chief Minister Siddaramaiah. Now, what we're getting to know is that the Parmeshwara has said that he wants a change of ministry. So, likely he will get the revenue, and Krishna Bairegowda, who's the revenue minister, likely to get the finance. But apart from that, there's a new entrant too, Rupa Shashidhar. She is daughter of K.H. Muniappa. So, K.H. Muniappa is making way for Rupa Shashidhar. Then we have political heavyweights like M.B. Patil representing Lingayat. We have Ramlinga Reddy, another Vokkaliga there. So that makes two Vokkaligas in the cabinet. Then we have UT Khadar, a very strong, very senior leader who was an earlier speaker and also coming from coastal belt. So he will be the Muslim face of it. So 10 ministers will be taking what we're getting from party sources along with the Chief Minister tomorrow. And the second round of ministers will take over after the Rajya Sabha and the MLC elections on June 20th.
We'll have to leave it there. Thanks so much for joining us, Imran, with that breaking update. With that, we're slipping into a very quick break. More news and updates on the other side. Stay tuned.